What's going on, penny boys and gals? What's going on, stock traders? And welcome to our options live trading stream. I am live, as always, with the Swinging Bull. How we doing, Bull?
Pretty good. Happy Monday. Let's get this trading week started. And I'm already feeling good about the week, man. I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah, I know you're doing some technical analysis, fundamental analysis with the Discord right before the stream, talking about, what was the stock you're saying, UPS?
Yeah, well, we talked about UPS. Me and Lee went over UPS last week, okay? And let me go on StreamYard to make sure I got my screen shared there so you can pop that in there. Just give me 1 second here, you guys say. Let's see. There we go. All right, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. All right, so we were talking about UPS. Look at SPY making a little impulse move here. We were talking about UPS last week, me and Lee were. And basically, we were talking about it when UPS was, let me take the RSI off here. This big red candle here, we were talking about it. And we were watching this 176 level and the 172 level. And we said last week, if the 176 holds, that we could easily do call options there. But ultimately what happened is the 176 didn't hold, and the price came beautifully down to our next level of 172. We got the pop that we were looking for. So I believe we were shooting for the 180 calls last week, and this price action actually has been going on for the this is the third trading day now of green candle. So if you entered those calls last week, I mean, you could have just entered when this big green candle appeared off of this 172 level. And if you jumped in those 180 calls, you're up super amount of money right now. You know, there could be some resistance right around 180, kind of a little bit above where it's at, the price is at right now. So good time to start scaling up the position. So UPS, that was a great trade, nice bounce off of 172 there. And then I was talking about SPY before the recording started. And what I was mentioning here is just some things that were happening. And this was about a little over 10 minutes ago or so, right after 12 noon. And I noticed some bearish divergence on the chart that was forming. And I'll just draw it right here. Let me go to trend line right here. So you can see the RSI started trending down, right? And but the price was still kind of it hadn't broke the previous structure to the downside. So that was a little bit of bearish divergence that we spotted. Couple that with the 9-count sell. Now that's two bearish signals that I got. The reason why I didn't go bearish, because you don't, just because you see the divergence doesn't mean, okay, let's jump into puts right now. There's the divergence. No, back up a little bit. And let me explain why. Just because we got the bearish divergence, okay, that's one thing saying bearish, but let's look at some other things. We scroll back here and we have this nice ascending white trend line. And this started forming right around 11:30 a.m. And as you can see, the price has been bouncing off of this trend line quite nicely. So that's bullish. Okay, so that kind of negates a little bit of this bearish divergence. Number two, when you pull up the or just you have the RSI was still well above 55. Okay, so yeah, we got a little bit of bearish divergence, but the RSI was still above 55, which is bullish. Okay, that's number two. So number one was the ascending trend line. Number two was RSI was still above 55. Number three is you can see these EMAs. Let me just kind of clean the chart up a little bit so you can see. The EMAs are fanned out now, okay, and they're in sequential order. So we got the 200 EMA, the 50 EMA, and the 21 EMA. And the price is above all three. So that's bullish, okay? So just because you see the bearish divergence, yeah, that's one thing telling me, could be bearish, but we got 3 or 4 things still saying bullish. So that kind of negates this divergence, and this bearish divergence basically got mitigated and is completely worthless now. We can go ahead and delete that off our chart because now the RSI is back to making higher lows along with the price action. So my point is just because you see one bearish thing, okay, we got the bearish divergence, that doesn't mean we're going to jump into puts or start shorting. Okay, we need to look at some other things and see, are we going to put a lot of weight to this bearish divergence? Now, if the bearish divergence popped up and the RSI was below 55 or even below 50, Okay, now we got two things telling me bearish, but that wasn't really happening, right? We had more things telling us to that we should be biased to bulls right now.
No, it's really important, just like you were saying, not to just rely on just one indicator, just one news article, just one thing in general. It is really good to, check when you're doing your due diligence to check, multiple sources, and especially with technical analysis.
Yeah.
So hello, I'm Kayla was asking about, I'm going to pull up your chart again. There's numbers on your candle. She's wondering what that was.
Yeah, that's the TD 9-count sell and buy signals. This is Webull desktop. I'm really impressed what Webull's been doing lately. They've added some really neat features that they're kind of competing with TradingView, to be honest with you. Some of the things that they've been adding lately. Here we go. We're getting another push on SPY here, just as I expected. So what these numbers are, if you go to your indicators, what you're looking for is the TD sequential indicator. And I'll just go ahead and show you the description of it so you know. This is called the TD9, and it's basically the 9-count buy and sell signals. Okay. I think you put bigger weight on this on the bigger time frames. Okay. So they're okay to look at on the smaller time frames, but even if we go to SPY, let me take off these EMAs, clean the chart up a little bit. If we go to like the let's go to the 4-hour chart, and we can kind of go back in time here. And yeah, I mean, you can see the moves clear as day right here. So gives us a 9-count sell. Okay, it says when it'll count in green, and then the 9 will be red. That's a sell signal. And there was a pretty significant move. You could have caught that 9-count sell in extended hours trading, and then basically go put options when the market opens. And it looks like it wicked up a little bit to shake out some traders. But ultimately, that 9-count sell held up beautifully. You would have made a lot of money that day. And now here's a 9-count buy, a beautiful 9-count buy. Okay, and this is the 4-hour chart. And as you can see, we get the countdown or the count up. It's all red. And then we get the green 9. So that's a 9-count buy signal. And of course, that you could have taken advantage of that play there and gotten some green there. So my point is I like them better on the bigger time frames. Okay, I just I do look at them on the 1-minute chart. I mean, this was a 9-count sell on the 1 minute that could have been taken advantage of here. But just always couple it with something else. Don't just use it by itself. And Duck, that's kind of what I was explaining earlier, is just because you get one signal doesn't mean, okay, let's jump into the trade. I want to see 3-4 things telling me sell. Okay. If I get a 9-count sell, I want to make sure the RSI is trending down. I want to see where the price action is in relation to some of my EMAs. Is it above or below the VWAP? You see what I'm doing here, y'all. We got to kind of take things as a package deal when we're trying to make a decision if we should go long or short, and try and give us confidence which direction we need to go. So just over time, you're going to find out what your favorite signals are and what your favorite indicators are, because it's not the same for everybody.
Oh, everyone's different.
Everyone's different. But the thing is over the course of a couple of years that you've been trading, getting some good practice in, you're going to figure out for yourself the ones that you like. And another point is, you don't want to have 10 or 15 indicators. Okay. Get like 3 or 4 of them that you like a lot, that you've played with in the past, maybe 3 or 4 of them. And I think that's a good, basic set there. And then just wait for those 3 or 4 things, all the blink green or the blink red. What are we doing? Right. The key is figuring out what those indicators are for you. Okay.
So I'm curious for you. I just pulled up JPMorgan chart right here. It looks like they're breaking out over some prior resistance levels. Of course, the big news with them is that
they're taking over First Republic.
Yeah, exactly, taking over First Republic. I wonder what your analysis just of the chart might be. Obviously, news is a lot. There's a lot of news going on. Everyone's talking. But from a technical perspective, what do you see?
Yeah, let me pull up FRC first, and then we'll go to JPMorgan. So I'm going to use my top chart here. This is officially suspended, folks. Okay, so if you were in any positions holding it over the weekend, you're in a little bit of trouble here. I did, I'm not a financial advisor, but I strongly, my opinion about this stock last week was I wasn't going to touch it. Okay. I wasn't going near it because we've already seen this scenario play out before with Silicon Valley and Signature Bank. So it's suspended. This thing might not ever become unsuspended, y'all. Okay, it could just stay like this and be done. Now, what happened is JPMorgan took over 85 of branches, First Republic branches, over the weekend. As of Monday morning, all First Republic branches, there's 85 of them nationwide. As of Monday morning, they are now JPMorgan. Okay, you're now banking with JPMorgan per se. And basically, JPMorgan has guaranteed all funds for any First Republic people because they literally just taken over the bank. Okay, so good news if you had a checking account with First Republic and you're like, oh no, the bank's closing down. That's not what's happening. What's happening is now your new bank is JPMorgan as of this.
And that's for the bankers. Kayla was asking, as far as the investors go, what happens if you're actually in a trade for FRC and it got suspended?
Unless Joe Biden does some sort of okay, we're going to protect all the shareholders, which they didn't do that with Silicon Valley. They didn't do that with Signature Bank. Basically, the shareholders are left holding the bag, and it will go to zero.
Yeah, but Biden had a quote about that. I forget the exact quote, but he basically said, if you make an investment, it's an investment. You might lose it. So
that's the risk with investing, and that's probably going to be, if Biden does talk about it, that's what he's going to say. He's going to say there's always risk with investing.
Yeah.
Now also, Doug, if you had a short position, that might be a different story. You're going to have to contact your broker directly, call the trade desk, and figure out how that's going to get paid out to you. Because obviously, if the stock goes to zero and you were short, you should have some credit with your broker there. All right. Now, the long positions, if you were long on it or you sold cash secured puts on it, what happens there? Let's talk about the cash secured put side, which is a bullish strategy. If you sold cash secured puts on First Republic Bank, there's a couple things that's going to happen. Okay. If this never gets unsuspended, it just stays suspended. And ends up going to OTC pink sheets like Silicon Valley did. What's going to happen is the credit you received when you sold the puts, you will keep that credit. But if you sold a $3 cash secured put and only collected $50 in credit, you will lose $2.50 a contract, which is $250 per contract. $3 cash secured put is going straight to zero, and you're going to lose that. So I don't know if that helps clarify anything for anyone that maybe got caught in that situation, which, I got to bring the paddle out because, I told you what I thought about this last week. But basically, to sum it up, if you sold puts on it, you do get to keep your premium. That does not go away. But, if this thing never gets unsuspended and it goes to zero, do the math. You sold a $3 cash secured put. That's $300. You collected a $50 credit. You're going to lose $250.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't hold your breath for anyone who was invested in thinking like Biden might bail. I know Biden, he's not very high on investors. I know him and Warren Buffett butt heads when it comes to even dividends. We were talking, or no, when it comes to share buybacks, we were talking about. He seems very much, the companies like companies as opposed to investors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he was saying something about like he doesn't agree or he doesn't like the share buybacks because he would rather the employees get raises or something.
Yeah, he thinks they can go to like other avenues as opposed to to that. So yeah, I personally don't think that they're going to even people will be investors will be getting their money back as far as that goes. But
yeah, so let's pull up JPMorgan. So now we saw what happened with First Republic. I mean, you guys, this was trading at over $200. And even right before the crash, it was trading over $140. Okay, $147. And now it's trading in, I believe, it's suspended now, but it hit low 142 there, and ended up kind of rebounding a little bit. So as of right now, the suspended price is about $189 or $1.89. I'm sorry. So now let's look at JPMorgan because they basically took them over. like I said, all 85 branches in the U.S. that were First Republic, everyone woke up this morning and they might have even had sign companies out there over the weekend changing all the brick and mortar bank signs to JPMorgan. That's probably something they're doing right now. But JPMorgan now owns all those branches, and that's going to give them a bigger foothold. Of course, they already had a huge foothold in the banking sector to begin with, but now they just added 85 branches to their portfolio. Banking branches where they can do loans and make money that way and things of that nature. But they gapped up with when that news hit. So they're expected to bring in more revenue because of it, and that's why investors took it positively. And here we are here with JPMorgan trading above $140. Previous close on this was 138, but they did wick all the way up to 145 at one point in pre-market. But for intraday levels, let's see if it holds 141. It's kind of making higher lows right now. You can even see on the volume profile, quite a bit of volume came in right here around this level, and the volume profile actually drew kind of the lines out for me here. So this very well could be some support right here moving forward for the rest of the day today, and we could probably just go ahead and mark that out like with a level like that. JPMorgan definitely benefiting on the collapse of First Republic, and them taking over First Republic. I can guarantee you they're getting the assets pennies on the dollar. They're going to get a huge discount to taking over First Republic, and that's definitely a bullish scenario for JPMorgan, and we obviously can see that in the price action from today. So.
No, I definitely
on that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting though. Because I know everyone was talking about JPMorgan. I was wondering what you thought about that. No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else have you been personally looking at? I know Uber is
Let's
is
go
what
back to
I'm
Uber.
always looking at. I have it pulled up right here. We played it before on these streams right here in this level here and this level, but recently it has some pretty big gap up. So I'm going to pull up your screen again. Just what do you see here going on with Uber?
Yeah, I mean it had a gap up, and we have earnings coming up, and let me just give you guys some exact info on Uber earnings. I use earningswhispers.com. This is a free tool that you guys can use, and I like it just to quickly search for some earnings info. And looks like Uber has earnings. This is going to be tomorrow before the market opens. Okay, so before market open tomorrow. So I kind of think that this is kind of looking like an anticipatory run up to earnings, isn't it? Okay. There were some people that might have got some call options last week, kind of trying to take advantage of the earnings run up. And what happens there is a lot of times a day or 2 or 3 days before earnings, we do see stocks kind of run up a little bit, kind of like an earnings run up. So that's what we call an anticipatory run up to earnings. Anyone that bought call options last week, you're definitely in the green right now. You could probably just take profit and not even have to deal with the earnings tomorrow morning. So if that's your plan, make sure to take profit. If you were long on Uber, even if you were just long on the shares, I mean, if you go back down to this $29 level, you're up 10% on the shares alone. All right. So either or, whether it's shares or options, if you're in the green, again, I can't tell you when to buy and sell, but if it was me personally, I'd probably be taking profit on that before the market closes today, so we don't even have to deal with any earnings shenanigans. Okay. And now we can go back in time and let's look at the last time they released the earnings.
I'm glad you said that, because I was gonna ask you. I'm like, I me personally being a degen, I was wondering if you had like a possible lotto play based off of last earnings or just in general. So let's go ahead and look at that.
The last earnings, which was reported back in early February, Uber got hurt a little bad there. Was a little bit of kind of a retracement recovery after the earnings were announced, but ultimately just total downtrend. I mean, we can just draw a trend line like this, something like this. I mean, it's most recently broke out of it, right? But if it's going to do anything like the last earnings, it wasn't good. It went from about 37.58 And then after they announced the earnings, this thing went down to $33. That's over 10% move there to the downside on the last earnings release. Another site we could look at to maybe get some data on the earnings, it's going to be tipranks.com. I like looking at that. Let me just go through my bookmarks here. Here it is here, tipranks. So let's take a little look at this. And let's type in Uber and see if we can find some sentiment here and what's going on. So one thing I like to look at is what was the price the day after earnings. And here's the 5% move here. So let me just go back to Webull. So it looks like, let me just zoom in here. So they reported earnings here on February 8th. And it did make a down move. Now, the very next day, even though this is a red candle, if you do the math from the bottom of this wick down here, the data is showing that it was up 5% after earnings. So we got to make sure to look at the charts as well, y'all, because this wick down was probably an overreaction, and it opened up higher, but still ultimately a red candle and bearish. So that's why we have to make sure we look at the charts as well, because this data is saying the last 3 earnings, Uber was green the next day, which very well could have been, but that's why we need to look at the chart and figure out why. And this is it right here. So the very next day, yes, it was green, but in the overall scheme of things, still bearish. So we just got to be careful there. But TipRanks is a good site to look at. You can get lots of free data here, and you can see what the EPS was compared to what the estimate and the reported was, and kind of compare those two. So pretty good information there. We can scroll down here. We do got some bullish sentiment. The thing with the growth, the expected growth of the revenue and the earnings, looks like it's pretty green across the board, except for this previous annual earnings comparison number here. But you want to be careful when the expectations and the forecasts are if they're expecting lots of green in the numbers, you got to be careful there, because they could still have good earnings, but if they fall below the high expectations, it could be a bearish day. All right, so you just want to be careful when the analysts and the forecasts are super green, because they're expecting them to have these great numbers. And what you need to be careful of is they could still have good numbers, but if it's not as high as the forecast, that could be looked at as negatively by investors. So just a couple things to keep note with the earnings.
No, this one's definitely going to be something to watch, because I like I was saying before, Uber usually is a very emotional stock as far as the traders are concerned. Because I can see tomorrow being either up or down in a big way. I know they're already up 5% today. I'm actually going to play a clip here of you, Bull, because I have a question for you about something you said during Friday's stream. So I'm just going to play that really quick on the YouTube, and then we can get right into the question.
Okay. I tell you, there's a very good chance this bank is going to go into receivership. So if you're trying to go long on this stock, or you're trying to sell options on it because the premiums are paying this outrageous % return on your money, there's a reason for that. And you could very well lose it all.
But yeah, like you said, basically they're heading for receivership under the FDIC. If this was to happen, to be the 3rd U.S. bank to collapse since March. Are you guys worried at all? I know we were talking about during Silicon Valley, the banks are okay. FDIC got them covered. Are we getting a little bit more worried about the banks?
Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, now First Republic Bank. Now you have to understand that these banks were like top 3 for having the most uninsured depositors. I don't think it's going to be like a systemic problem or a contagion to the other banks. I think this is kind of going to be zeroed in on the banks that had those high uninsured depositors.
What we're seeing is something we've been seeing, right? Anytime there's a hot new topic or anything controversial or anything that can induce panic and fear, the media is going to jump all over it.
All right. So the thing that you were talking about is, the banks and how, First Republic, the ones that have gone under, these aren't your typical, Chase banks, the ones that have, was the uninsured rate. I'm curious, because, people going forward might be like, a lot of people are on the news, at least, all worried about the banks. There's a lot of fear out there. I'm curious what other banks are similar to First Republic, if any, or Silicon Valley, that might have that big uninsured rate that you might be, maybe, as we're talking about investors before, how they, might be out of luck if they were currently in a play like that. Are there any other ones currently out there that you might, maybe be a little bit worried about as well? Because obviously I don't see Chase going under, in the big banks, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them, that are up there. I just want to go to this list that I had before, and I don't know if I can pull this into the screen, Duck. Actually, yeah, I'll just pull it in right here. Okay, this was a list I was looking at over the weekend, and this kind of gives you kind of a firsthand look right here, right? So these, and I don't even see First Republic on here. I mean, they're no more. Oh, there they are right here. So First Republic had 67.4%. Just to give you an idea, look at all these banks on top of it. Now there's some big names here. Citibank, okay. Obviously Silicon Valley Bank, they had 93.8% uninsured deposits, and you can even see right here they've already labeled them as a failed company because they're done, right? Bank of New York, Mellon, that's one. State Street, some of these bigger ones are going to be okay, like Citibank, HSBC. Bank of New York is a huge bank. Silicon Valley Bank, it's they just were taking on such great risks. And I think a big part of their business model was around those big risks that they were taking. So Bank of New York Mellon is a good example of, yes, they had high uninsured deposits, but they have several other products that they focus on as a company. They're in real estate heavily, things like that. So just kind of a quick bird's eye view. You just got to be careful of some of these. But see, these are some of the other banks, Doc, that you can just kind of look at.
I'm glad that you brought up that site.
Just be careful of the ones that aren't too well known. Those are the ones you got to be careful of.
Well, it's really important to know the risk, behind any investment, and that right there is a good way to see, as far as the banking sector goes, which ones are on the higher risk side, which ones, might be a little bit safer. For investors, obviously, people's money, I know you're not too worried because of the, insurance and all that, but that's definitely good to know.
Yeah, and like I was saying, this Bank of New York, okay, read this note right here. Bank of New York Mellon was second in uninsured deposits, but had low ratios of riskier debt holdings to deposits. So that's why they're going to be okay. Okay, so if just because they have high uninsured deposits, we really need to look at the company at a bird's eye view and see what else they got going on. The thing with Silicon Valley and Signature Bank, well, their business model was focused around these uninsured deposits. So that's where you see the failures.
Nice. So that we talked about Uber, we talked about the banking sector, some SPY. What else are you currently looking at? I know, as far as the news goes, everyone's just talking about the banks and Pepe going, but as far as Penny Boys stock alerts, the PB alerts, or just you in general goes, what are you currently looking at next?
Yeah, me and Lee have been watching travel stocks. Okay. Norwegian Cruise Line is having a fantastic day today. They just reported earnings, and they knocked it out of the park. Okay, demand for cruises is way up. Okay, and within their earnings, they're actually looking to revert back to profitability as a company. They're saying this year, probably within the next quarter or two, they're going to be back to the green. All right, on their balance sheets, and as far as profitability goes. So great news by Norwegian. They're up almost 8.5%. If we go on the bigger time frames, you can clearly see, let me just get rid of this red line here. But look at that beautiful trend line there, Doug. And me and Lee have actually been following Norwegian for quite some time now. And we had some really nice pumps off this trend line. And Lee actually alerted some leap options on Norwegian. And I believe he alerted them when Norwegian was trading in the mid $12 area. So right around here is when they were alerted. And then I believe he also has an equity play out on it as well. And beautiful bounce off the trend line with great earnings. And we can kind of just read through a little bit of this here. But basically, they're saying the demand is steady. And right here, Norwegian Cruise lifts annual profit forecasts. Okay. And they're seeing great demand. There's still lots of people cruising. I actually personally just went on a cruise a couple months ago, and it was packed The cruise ship was packed, you guys. People are still cruising. There's a great following of consumers that love to cruise, and they do it several times a year. So we're seeing the benefit of this. I think Norwegian on the bigger time frames. I mean, we could just kind of zoom out here. Let me go to the weekly time frame. You can see pre-COVID, this thing was trading in the $50 range. Okay. Now that's on the bigger time frames, but that just gives you an idea of the potential upside that if Norwegian Cruise Line increases their profitability, their margins get better, and they really start trucking along here and retracing this sell-off from COVID, you know, the upside is just great. And even a shorter term upside, Duck, is going to be this level right here. You can see the volume profile. Just put the line on there for me. I didn't even have to draw it. It's like 17, 18 bucks, okay, from current price. So we got some great upside there. If we can get past 17, 18 bucks, I do think this is going to go back into the 30s, which is this peak here that we saw back here. So, price targets on Norwegian, y'all. You know, I'm thinking probably 17, 18 bucks from here. If we can get past that, break into the 20s, I think this is going to be a good ride and back into the 30s on Norwegian. And go ahead.
I was to say, it's funny, you know, they always say to, you know, invest in the brands that you use or see. So, you know, it's interesting here, you know, you actually went on a cruise and you saw there are people, you know, you saw with your own eyes, the people out there. It's not just the news articles. So you heard it here from Bull. It's you know, people are actually in the on the cruises.
Oh yeah, I didn't sleep for like the first 3 days. There's so much to do.
That's awesome.
All right, so yeah, good stuff. Travel stocks, you guys. That's something else I've been keeping my eye on, and it's starting to reap the benefits, especially cruise lines. And this good news from Norwegian's earnings, you know, to keep that in mind when the other cruise lines start having their earnings. It's probably going to be similar. Okay. So good stuff there. And even Carnival Cruise Lines seeing a pop here in sympathy with Norwegian, getting a nice pop here. So good stuff. But my personal preference, I like Norwegian better than Carnival, just because I like their fundamentals are a little bit better. The financials, should I say. Norwegian's a little bit better than Carnival, I think.
What as far as airlines go, any I don't know, we travel stock, everyone likes to talk about those too. JetBlue, yeah.
JetBlue. Oh man, I love this stock. And it's I'm telling you what, this JetBlue stock, you know, it's kind of working on an ascending trend line right now. Basically, just on the daily time frame, we got a 9-count buy signal here. And another thing with these, the TD 9 counts, you guys, sometimes it takes a minute for it to play out. Okay, but as of right now, it's technically still on the 9-count buy pattern or signal, as you would. So as long as it keeps making higher lows, what I'm probably going to be expecting an impulse move to the upside on JetBlue. They actually just had earnings, so now that that's out of the way and investors have been able to digest the earnings data, it's holding this trend line very nicely. I think anything in the $6-7 area for JetBlue is a fantastic price. And you can even see recently, what's this, about 3 months ago, only 90 days ago, this was trading at $9.35, y'all. And of course, it, you know, you can look at the price action here on my chart. It sold off down to this level here, which kind of ultimately created this ascending white trend line. That's when I was first able to kind of draw it out there. But it's holding above it, and I could definitely see this heading back to $8-9 bucks. So JetBlue's my pick for the airlines, and I just think there's some good upside with JetBlue right now. And we can even go back in time here, and I just wanted to point out that the high from before COVID, it's almost 20 bucks, you guys. Okay, it was trading, you know, 18, 19, 20 bucks. We're only at $7. Lots of upside here. So price target number 1 on JetBlue is going to be right around $9. I think, and it's good to get in. You could get into this right now. You could just do the shares if you wanted. And as long as it stays above this white ascending trend line, worst case scenario, as long as it keeps making higher lows, this could be a steady march back up into the $8-9 area. I think might be some resistance around $8. We'll kind of keep our eye on the, you know, what the price does when we approach the $8 level. Could be some resistance there. But even from where the price is at now, that's still going to be quite a good gain, even just on the shares. So JetBlue.
So you're bullish on JetBlue in the
Yeah.
sky, Norwegian in the water. As far as the roads go, I know that everyone's talking about EV versus the automakers. What other stocks are you currently looking at when it comes to the whole EV battle that's going on?
I mean, I watch Tesla. I really do watch Tesla. As far as EV goes, you could see right here, I had some drawings on here before. Tesla's been trading in this descending channel here for about a month now. Okay, it's been about 30 calendar days. And trading in this channel, there's been some opportunities to play it up and down. And here we are right now. The price is kind of on the top side of this channel. But let me just zoom out a little bit more on my chart because, yeah, this is what I was looking for here. So this is the gap down here, down to 146. So high 140s. There is some unresolved price action here, as you can see from my little box here with the gap. Price did come down to basically the top of the gap, okay? And that was last week. It came down to 152.37. If you zoom in, that's kind of right where the top of the gap is. Maybe it may be a little bit below it, but didn't quite fill it. To 146 is when I think it's going to be completely filled. And, based on the price action, I think it's wanting to do that. For that to change for me, I want to see Tesla break out of this descending channel. Okay, if it breaks out of this descending channel, I can go ahead and delete the channel here. But if it does break out of the descending channel, look at this gap here to the upside. So, there's gaps on the downside and the upside, but there's a gap right there. I think if Tesla can break out of that descending channel, then we'll have potential to fill this gap and potentially break back into the 180s. And then, of course, the infamous $200 level on Tesla. We'll see what happens there. So a couple scenarios for the downside and the upside of Tesla. And if you have Webull desktop, very simple. Just click on this. You click on your drawings. And if you don't like drawing out the trend channels on your own, maybe it's just a hassle, or maybe you're just not really good at it for whatever reason. Just to let Webull do it for you. Click on your drawings and come here to where it says trend channel. Click on that, and let me just zoom out. Hold on, let me just zoom out a little bit, and basically you're just going to draw from there to there. There's your descending channel right there, folks. Okay, Webull just drew it out for me. I didn't have to do nothing. Okay, so anything to make things easier, right?
Yeah, no, I love that.
So that's what I'm watching on Tesla, either a break of this descending channel to the upside to possibly fill this gap, or the price retraces to the bottom of this channel and fills this gap I've been waiting to get filled back here. So I'm about 50-50 on which way is it going to go. Okay, now if we get some EV news popping on the media channels or anything like that, maybe we can finally get out of this descending channel and fill the gap to the top side.
Maybe Elon will change the Twitter logo to the Tesla logo and it'll get a nice pump.
Hey, that could be catalyst right there, right?
You never know. So I know we are at the 1 o'clock time. I was wondering before we head off, first of all, if anyone has any questions about any stocks that we want to go over, we'd love to do that for the last like 5-10 minutes. But I see in the chat, and I know we talked about SPY earlier, but we can never talk too much about SPY. So Nia was saying the SPY needs to touch 417.65, then
that's
down to 412. Is that that's what you think as well?
The top side is definitely 417.62 and basically close enough to what the member said in the chat there. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of zoom out a little bit, right? And let's look at this level here. I mean, it's amazing what happened today, because this level here from the beginning of February 2023, it literally hit 416.72. We get a 9-count sell signal. And look what happened today. It hit it to the penny, 416.72. Or I'm sorry, 417.62. So it's kind of off by $1, right? 416.72, and then today hit 417.62. So it was just weird how the cents lined up to the penny. But it is $1 off. But basically, it's a little bit of a zone for me. It's basically going to be like 416 to 418. That's kind of the zone that I would like SPY to get above and hold for a day or two. And then I think it's very easily going to go to the mid 420s. That would be my next level to the upside, is the mid 420s. And that's on a much bigger time frame, you guys. I'm not talking about like a day trade or something, okay? So we just kind of zoom out here. We got this 426.37, this peak that it made back in August of 2022. I think if we can get over this recent double top, which is basically 416 to 418, kind of like double top area there, we get above there, the mid 420s, I think, is in play for sure. And the Fed meeting, let me just pull this over. I know I've said this a couple of times today, but the Fed meeting is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2 p.m. Eastern is when the interest rate decision gets announced. And then 2:30 p.m. when Powell does his press conference, that's when the fireworks and the actual move is going to come. We're going to see some volatility at 2 p.m. Personally, now that JPMorgan has basically taken over First Republic, I think the Feds move forward with a 0.25 interest rate hike. There were talks last week that potentially they could pause the interest rate hikes because of the mess that First Republic was going through and the potential hazard of it becoming a systemic banking crisis. Well, since JPMorgan stepped up to the plate over the weekend and has basically taken over operations of First Republic, now that nightmare is kind of behind the Feds, it's in the rearview mirror of the Feds now. I think they move forward with a 0.25 hike. And then what Powell says at 2:30 is going to be very, very important, because that's going to tell us whether he's hawkish or dovish going into the subsequent meetings for the remainder of the year. And if they're going to continue to do some more hikes this year, or does he say something saying that, okay, we're going to increase 0.25 today, but that's going to be it for the rest of the year. I think if that happens, I think if he says that, I think we're going to be super bullish, and we will see SPY back into the 420s. If he's a little bit, and that basically means he's dovish. If he's hawkish and basically says, okay, well, we're going to do 0.25 today, and we might have 2 more other hikes this year, that's hawkish. Yes, he's fighting inflation, but a high interest rate environment is never good. And, we could be bearish at that point. So I think it's just going to depend on his tone when he does the press conference. It's going to say a lot, man. It really is.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up. That's happening, May 3rd. That is really important for those who don't want to, hold into volatility for certain stocks that they own that might already be volatile. We got Hello, I'm Kayla in the chat. I know we were talking about Uber earnings before. She wants to ask about the AFRM earnings. Any sentiment as far as AFRM earnings go?
Let's take a look, because they're still right around this $9 level here, $9-10. But basically 862 was the low from December, actually January. Well, actually 862 back here, so it was December 2022. We can kind of look at some of the previous price actions. So they had earnings here on February 8th, and they literally gapped down the next day a couple dollars. So investors did not take that earnings positively at all. What I would hope for is that a firm, maybe when they did the last earnings and they put their guidance out, maybe they adjusted their guidance to which would mean if they adjusted it appropriately, then maybe we won't see this bad reaction that they had at the last earnings. So as far as whether I'm bullish or bias, or bullish or bearish,
Bullish or bias?
Bias bullish or bias bearish?
That's like Kramer, bullish or bias.
I mean, according to their earnings history, it seems like in this earnings release in November of 2022, it looks like they gapped down, but once investors digested the guidance, they ended up pumping up a little bit there after the earnings. So initial reaction was negative. Then investors found some value in their guidance and ended up buying the dip. Okay. Kind of similar thing the last earnings. It gapped down. It was bad. After a day or two, investors decided to buy in, and it did pump a little bit and started stabilizing. but then of course, sold off again. So, I hate to give recommendations because it's literally a coin toss, you guys. But we could look at some things here. Let me just let me get rid of the screen. And let's see what some of the sentiment is maybe on Earnings Whisper. But let me take a look. So sentiment is all down. The forecasts aren't really asking them to shoot for the stars. That could be positive, which means they really don't need to show that they're doing fantastic to be able to beat earnings. Okay, so it's just something to keep in mind. Lots of bearish sentiment. Investor sentiment is up, but let me look at tip ranks here and see what they got for data. Firm. Let's see here. Consensus as a whole. They've just been struggling as a company, you guys. Yeah, lots of red day after earnings. Kayla, I'm gonna have to be bearish on this. Yeah, I'm bearish, but they're already kind of at lows here, and we got this all-time low here at $8.62. That's going to be the 52-week low, and a lot of times it does the opposite what people think. Kind of deep down inside, I'm bearish, but since it's already at some of these low levels, maybe investors will kind of cherry pick some things in the guidance, and they go long on it. So it's kind of a crapshoot. So we'll see. And they have earnings on next Tuesday. I believe it is after the bell, after the regular session. So after market close next Tuesday. So kind of a crapshoot. But, I'm kind of bearish on the company, but since they're already at some pretty low levels, maybe investors and some of the institutions or hedge funds will cherry pick the guidance and use it as an excuse to pump it back up here. So we'll see. A little bit of a crapshoot, but we'll see.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions in either the chats, YouTube or Discord. Is there anything that you personally want to go over before we close it, Apple?
No, just a reminder about the Fed meeting on Wednesday. So be on your P's and Q's. I'm not saying don't trade, but you just got to be careful and protect your money when during volatile times like that. And it's Monday, so outside of the Fed meeting on Wednesday, I think it's going to be a great week. Just remember to trade your plan and protect yourself.
No, it's important to know, and I have it right there. The Fed meeting May 3rd, just because a lot of traders who don't know, they might see a stock go up or down really hard, and in their portfolio, and be like, "What is happening? Is my stock broken?" Or is there bad news? And just not realizing that it's the overall market. So it is really, really good to see that. And there's one last thing, Bull. RKT, we got in the Discord, 93% is asking about RKT calls for swing right on support daily chart earnings on Thursday. I do want to bring that one up because we do have the earnings coming up that week. Hello, I'm Kayla's right. She's saying roller coaster Wednesday coming up. That is definitely true.
Yep. So I'm on the daily chart here. This could be some support here on the daily chart. Good way to kind of recognize it on the chart is you see this price action back here where it was kind of resistance, right? It broke above it a couple of times, but it just couldn't hold, and the seller smacked it back down. What was able to break above that level over here and sold off, but kind of trending up, making higher lows, kind of in the grand scheme of things. Got a little bit of a trend line, kind of like this. It's bouncing off this ascending. I wouldn't say bouncing like as of today, but the last couple trading days of last week, it definitely looked like a bounce off it. So this could definitely be a bounce and a retest. We do have a 9-count buy signal on the daily chart as well, so that's good. Along with it making higher lows. It could be good for calls. Let's see here. So if they have earnings on May 4th, which is going to be Thursday, just as 93% said there. And could be a run up to earnings. And we already got the initial bounce. So this technically could be a retest of this ascending trend line, right? So as long as price stays to the top side of this white ascending trend line, yeah, I like it for an anticipatory run up to Thursday's earnings. And also keep in mind, if you were to get into an option call right now, a couple things could happen. If you can put a little bit of time on it, so that this 4-day expiration, basically when they go to release earnings, it's going to be 0 DTE option there. But let me just go back here. So this is, let me just see what time of day. Let me see what time of day, because it's going to depend on what expiration date we take. Okay, this is Thursday, May 4th, after the bell. Okay, which means if we were to buy this Friday expiration, Friday morning, this would be considered a 0 DTE option. That's really all we need, right? Because it's going to move one way or the other. So you could go with the May 5th. Okay, you could go with the May 5th, which would be Friday's expiration. The earnings are Thursday after the close. So Friday morning, you'd be taking profit on this one way or the other. Okay, so let me change my thought process here, Deb. Because if you're going to do an anticipatory run up to earnings, you probably want some more time on the contract so the theta doesn't kill you before Thursday. Okay, so what I'm talking about for the Friday expiration, this is going to be if you do a lotto Thursday before market close, you can go ahead and go with the Friday expiration. Okay, because Friday morning you're going to be taking profit or taking a loss, one way or the other, right? That's if you do the lotto play Thursday before the bell rings for regular session. I would go with the Friday expiration. If you're going to do a run up to earnings, like buy it today, and you're going to be out of the play Thursday before market close, you want to put a little bit of time on it so the theta doesn't kick your butt leading up to earnings. And look, the options are still pretty affordable. Got this $9 call, it's only 25 bucks. Okay, we have a delta of almost 40, and then we got the gamma almost 35. So if Rocket, RKT even goes up $1, do the math of that. That's going to be 40 plus 35. That's going to be $75 gain on the contract. So if you only paid 25 bucks for it, that's a 300% gain on your money. Okay. So that's what I would do. Okay. If you're going to do an anticipatory run up to earnings, and then another beautiful thing is the IV should go up as we get closer to Thursday. So right now it's sitting at 57%. If the implied volatility goes up to 75%, okay, then that's going to be 75% minus the 57%. That's an 18% increase in implied volatility. And what we do is look at the value of the Vega, which is a just shy of $1, 0074. But that's also going to increase the value of our contract because of the value of the Vega. So 18, you could even just do 18 times 0.007. Hold on one second here. That's going to be 18 percentage points times 0.007. That's going to be a $12 increase on the value of the contract just from the IV run up. That's assuming the IV runs up to 75% by Thursday, which I think it very well could. So just to kind of break it down, if you're going to do the earnings run up but not play through the earnings, try and put a little bit of time on it so the theta doesn't kick your butt. If you're just going to do a straight up lotto call on Rocket, then maybe wait till Thursday to buy it, because their earnings are Thursday after market close. So why buy it now and lose all the theta and get all the theta decay, lose the value? Just wait till Thursday, buy it Thursday, and then you're going to be exiting the position Friday. So that's what I got, but it's about 1:15 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, great questions today. Today was awesome.
No, that's good though. I'm glad that we got to answer some of the members' questions, go over the banking system. What's up? We got Stockbuster in the chat. Shout out to Stockbuster. He has I think his own channel for lifetime members. Those of you who don't already know, a great stock trading influencer out there that we were able to connect with. But yeah, no, this is a great stream and some great live trading. And obviously, as always, going over Uber as we love to do. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, we do this every single Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Live options trading, market review. But yeah, as always, we hope that y'all make some bread.
Make some bread. See y'all next